What's happening, guys? This is my top 5 motorcycle mods of what I personally believe are things you should definitely have on your motorbike. Now this applies to everyone, whether you're a seasoned veteran, you've been riding 10, 15 years, whether you're an absolute track day hero scraping the knee on every single corner possible, or you're an up and coming rider and haven't got your first bike yet. These are definitely things you need to consider, and I'm sure we can all learn a thing or two. Crash protection for me is the absolute #1 most important thing you should have on any motorbike, whether it's your new bike, your existing bike, or maybe you're sat looking at yours right now going, do you know what, maybe I should probably get these crash bungs that I've been thinking about for so long. It is quite literally the one and only thing that will save thousands of pounds worth of value of damage on your bike. As someone who's pretty well versed in this department, I've crashed on track, I've crashed on the road, and crash bungs are by far the best thing to get for your motorbike. Image 1, you can see here, this is about 40 mph low side. It completely wrecked the bike versus image 2, which was a 90 mph low side. The difference here being I had crash bungs, minor damage. So there you go, point proven. Have a look at R&G. They've got a fantastic range of products, and no, this isn't sponsored by R&G, but I can quite happily say that they do probably the best crash protection on the market. Don't be that guy who doesn't have crash protection. Come around the corner scraping your knee, you lose the back end of your bike, and boom, £2 to get it back on the road looking pristine again. And there's more than just crash bungs. You can get so many different things, from cages, lever guards, frame sliders. There's so many different things that you can get for your bike, whether it's a naked bike, super sport, a tourer. There's everything in between. And there's so many videos out there to show you how to install, what type of kits you can get for your bike. And yeah, I just genuinely believe this is probably the most important thing you can get for your motorbike. The next most important thing for me is tyres. It is quite literally the only thing in contact between you, your bike, and the tarmac. Now, I appreciate there's so many different variables with tyres, the type of grip, temperatures that they run at, different compounds, and it can be an absolute minefield. But one thing I will say, if you're the type of guy who goes in for tyre shopping and clicks price low to high, then I'm not going to judge you, but I'm also not going to ride with you. Do your research. There are so many different tyres, and it's going to depend on your type of riding, how you ride, where you ride, what sort of environment, and where you are in the world. Temperatures make a massive difference on the tyres. Now, you could be the sort of guy who's going on a few track days a year and you're going to be looking at your super courses and your slicks. You might be the type of person to go on a tour across Europe, across the Sahara or something like that. Or you might just be a road rider. You could be a mixture of the three, and it's going to change what tyres you have massively. Don't just go off of what you read online. Ask people in the forums, see what they're riding, see what they recommend, what they've got on with the most. The only way you're going to know in truth is by asking questions, getting answers, and more importantly, trying out the tyres. Go through a season, see how you get on with them. You may find that Road 6s are better for you than the SPV4s. You might find that the Metzeler's absolutely power over the Michelins. Just don't buy the cheapest tyres and let your back end slide out. It costs a lot of money to get back on the road again. Brakes. Now, brakes is obviously the most important thing on the bike. It literally stops you. If you don't have that, then you're going to come crashing into the next thing that's in front of you. So make sure you invest time and decent money into your brakes, whether that be a new set of brake pads if the stock pads on your bike aren't really cutting it, or whether you get yourself a set of braided lines just to give you that extra bit of braking pressure. The standard stock lines on most bikes nowadays, unless you're buying a top-end super sport like a BMW S1000RR, an R1, anything along those lines, the brake lines are pretty poor. You've got a lot of flex, a lot of play, and when you really put a lot of pressure into them brakes, the lines just expand. Braided lines stop that and allow you to put more pressure into the brakes and inevitably stopping you a little bit faster. Aside from the brakes and the pads, there's things you can do such as your brake fluid. Now, unless you're going to be really harsh riding the bike or you're hitting a few track days, then it's quite unlikely you're going to need DOT4 racing fluid. But hey, it's better fluid, so why not use it? Aside from that, you can get yourself a little service done on the brakes. Now, if you don't know how to, find someone who can do it, because it's really important to make sure your brakes are serviced properly. If you've ever got your bike on a stand and you feel, or you throw the wheels and you can see that the wheels aren't spinning properly, they're biting, they're grinding, chances are your brakes need a service. They're not decompressing properly when you let go of that brake lever. And that is a big problem, especially if you come to stop pretty harshly. The brakes are already partially engaged and you hammer on that front brake, you'll just be seeing sky, tarmac, sky, tarmac. So get some good pads, good braided lines, give them a service, drain that fluid and make sure you bleed all the system properly, and you'll have a nice little braking system. Tail tidies. Now, what a good mod for cheap aesthetic improvements, in my opinion. A tail tidy gets rid of these horrible, bulky, stock tail tidies, it just stick out way too far and are just horrible and obtrusive and just don't look good at all and really ruins the back end of the bike. Now look, I get it, it's all to do with police and all this sort of stuff to make sure the plate's as visible as possible, so I get it. But it doesn't go to say that you can't get yourself a nice new tail tidy after factory. And yes, some of them require modification, bit of cable routing, bit of wiring here and there, but believe me, for the hour and a half that it takes to get most tail tidies fitted, it's definitely a modification worth doing, and it's relatively cheap. I'd always recommend going for brand specific. So we use Flip and Dip within our group. Pretty much all of us have got one. They look great. They have their benefits. We take a lot of photos. You can see here, you can flip the plate. Now, I'm not going to say you should use these on the road. You should definitely have one of the little shims so it doesn't flip. But look, I'm not going to judge. I can understand the appeal of why you might want something like a Flip and Dip. I mean, I'm not going to give any stories or anything like that, but yeah, I can understand why. Now this brings us on to the fifth and final modification on any motorbike, which is the exhaust system. Now you can go as cheap or as expensive as you want. You can go from anything from little slip-ons, get rid of these horrible, ugly, bulky, emissions-proving, passing, whatever they want to call it, exhausts, which, let's be honest, they look nasty. And for something like a slip-on, which doesn't really take that long to do, a few bolts, whip off the old one, stick on a new one, you can really change the look of a bike. Not only that, you get such a better sound note out of them. Now, I understand there's going to be loads of different rules and regulations depending on where you are in the world as to what you can and can't do with an exhaust emission system. But have a look at it, see what you can get away with, see what's legally permittable in your country, in your area, because changing something as little as the slip-on can really change the look of a bike. Now, if you want to go through the extent of buying yourself an Akrapovic full system, fair enough, go for it. I personally won't go for that, especially on something like a road bike for the extra 1, maybe 2 horsepower that it might get me. Okay, yeah, you might notice it when you're getting that front wheel up here and there, but the reality is you're not going to notice it that much. And for the cost of a full system exhaust versus a slip-on, I personally think slip-on is much more beneficial in the long run. And with that, that is all of our top 5 motorcycle mods for this video. If you found something in this video that you really like the look of, drop a comment below and let us know what your favourite modification was, or even a modification you've done that isn't in this video. I'll be more than happy to reply to your comments below. And as always, if you've got any questions, drop a comment or send us a message. I'm sure myself or the guys below will be more than happy to help out. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.